What's up everyone, welcome to this video, and in this video I'm going to be doing a rankings of Disney live action remakes from least favorite to my favorite. Mulan just came out a few days ago, I watched it, and it's in the series, in the long series of Disney live action remakes that they've been doing since 2010. And I did a video on this last year where I ranked the Disney live action remakes from least favorite to my favorite. But since then, a few more of these remakes have come out, and obviously Mulan just came out a few days ago. So I figured it'd be cool to go forth and sort of redo this list, because some of my opinions have changed on these, and there have been more movies to come out in this Disney cinematic live action universe that they've been doing. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. And number 13 is Alice in Wonderland, 2010. Right from the moment that I saw this film in 2010 to 10 years later, it's just been one of the worst blockbusters I've ever seen. Terrible direction, bad storytelling, boring protagonists, just really no life or energy to this film. Just no sense of wonder for a film called Alice in Wonderland. And that sucks because I love the 1951 version very much, but this film just fell horribly flat. And number 12 is Alice Through the Looking Glass, the sequel to Alice in Wonderland. This was a sequel that no one really wanted, but for what it's worth, and despite being so low on this list, I actually did think it was a big improvement from Alice in Wonderland 2010. This one just had better story, better direction, better sense of urgency, and even a better protagonist than how Alice was this time around. Unfortunately, a lot of the movie does still fall a little bit flat, and some of the direction isn't all that great, but it is an okay family film for what it's worth, and way better than the original Alice in Wonderland from 2010. And number 11 is Lady and the Tramp, 2019. So far, this is the only one of these movies that was made exclusively for Disney+, but this movie's problem is that it follows the original film sort of verbatim when it comes to story, scene sequences, and stuff like that. Problem with that is that I'm just not a big fan of the original Lady and the Tramp. Its story was kind of boring, just kind of meh to me. Kind of felt the same way about this film, where its story was kind of meh, kind of boring to me. I mean, they did some good CGI work on the dog's mouth moving, and some of the dog lover in me couldn't help but like a few of the stuff they did, but overall, nothing all that special or memorable in this movie to make it all that worth watching. And number 10 is Maleficent from 2014. This movie got really creative when it came to redoing the original Sleeping Beauty story, and they had the right idea when it came to giving Maleficent some cool character development and showing her side of the story, why she becomes a villain, and Jolie was really good as Maleficent. Unfortunately, the execution of the rest of the film was not very good. The direction was quite frankly terrible, just felt like amateur hour when it came to the direction, how the story was done and stuff like that. Yeah, overall, it just ended up feeling just really flat, and had it not been for Jolie as Maleficent, this film quite frankly would have stunk. As it is, it just passes as being okay at best. Number 9 is Dumbo from 2019. Unlike other Disney live action remakes, this one was actually at its best when it was copying the original film. That's when it had the most heart. That's when you felt the most for Dumbo. Unfortunately, in the second half, Dumbo's story gets sort of eaten up by the other human plots in the film. That's when it just turns like when the movie kind of goes south, when they start turning Dumbo into sort of like an action hero near the end. It's like, what the hell happened to this movie? Still, I don't think it was all that bad. It has some stuff worth watching. I really liked how they did the pink elephant scene in this one. Just sort of, it did have some heart, and I don't think it's as bad as other people say. And number 8 is Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the sequel to Maleficent from 2014. This movie had sort of the opposite pros and cons compared to the original Maleficent, because this film had way better direction compared to the first Maleficent. Unfortunately, Maleficent herself didn't have nearly as good a story or character development as she did in that first film. This movie kind of forgot about her, and the middle of this movie is really just kind of boring. The story is just going around in circles, it's going nowhere. But the ending of this film is actually really good, the way they do the war between the fairy creatures and the kingdom. The movie did have sort of a nice ending segment, so that made up my opinion of the film much better, and ended up being much better than the first Maleficent in my opinion. And number 7 is The Lion King from 2019. This film was an absolute technical marvel with the technology they used from the Jungle Book to bring these animals to life. It just looks so goddamn good, and they actually pulled off some of the trickier scenes I thought there would be to do, like how they did Hakuna Matata and I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Unfortunately, this film was really kind of lazy when it came to just being a shot-for-shot remake of the original film, to where it was just like not a whole lot of effort when it came to like true vision in this film. And had it not been for stuff like the CG or how funny Timon and Pumbaa was, I'd just be like, what the hell was even the point of that? As it is, the movie does still have the good stuff that the original Lion King did, but unfortunately you just don't feel that emotion because of the lack of expression you're able to have on these animals' faces. But it does have a lot of stuff that does make it a decent watch. Number 6 is Beauty and the Beast from 2017. This film kind of had the same problem that The Lion Lion King remake did, where they followed the original film so closely. And you can understand just because the original film is so goddamn good, but it just felt like this one didn't have its own identity and was just sort of going through the motions because it was copying that first film so much. But you still got really good performances from the cast and great voice work from everyone that was involved in this film. And some of the way they did some of the scenes, like Be Our Guest, I mean, the way they did that scene was phenomenal. And the art direction and everything there was and the CG work was really good in this film. And it did have some of the heart of the original Beauty and the Beast, even though they couldn't quite capture all of it because it is a remake. But still not a terrible remake by any means. Number 5 is Christopher Robin from 2018. This one isn't really a remake as much as it is a live-action sequel adaptation to Disney's Winnie the Pooh franchise, but they sort of perfectly brought over the heart, characters, and everything about the Pooh franchise to live action. And this is a film and story that just really worked for me, with the relationships Christopher Robin, who's older, had with Pooh and his friends, the heart that the story had, and the visuals and the CG work they did on bringing Pooh and friends to live action. It was just great. The movie just had so much heart and just couldn't help but smile while you watch it. It was just a really well done story for me. Number 4 is Mulan 2020. Obviously this just came out, and what was so good about this one was how it just didn't feel like a regular sort of Disney Hollywood production. It had this dynamic where it felt like an international film with its production, the scenery, the dialogue, everything about it was like, wow, this feels like something special coming from Disney. And this film actually did have a real vision to it because it was not a shot for shot lazy remake. You know, they took the story and spirit from Disney's Mulan, but they really put like a serious touch to it, made it feel like a Chinese legend with how they incorporated the actual Chinese story to it. It was just like, wow, just felt really impressive coming from Disney, how this one had true vision to it. And overall, it was a remake that overall really worked, despite having some of the elements like Mushu and the songs that people love that were not in this movie. But for the vision that they had for it, worked pretty damn well. And number 3 is Cinderella from 2015. When you think about seeing the story of Cinderella again, you're just like, whatever, I've seen this before. But the way it was done and executed in this film was just fantastic. When it came to the added level of character development they gave to everyone in this film, when it came to how the cast was, when it came to giving the film a lot of heart for a story that is very shallow, and the moments that were supposed to be magical did feel magical. It was just like, wow, this is just a really impressive, just magical feeling movie. And it was a movie that really made Disney say that these remakes can be great, and this is why we're getting the remakes that we're getting right now. And number 2 is Aladdin from 2019. Now, I should have hated this film just because the original Aladdin is one of my favorite Disney movies. It's just so goddamn good. I love watching it. But this film, what was great about it was that it just had its own energy when it came to obviously using the original Aladdin story, but just adding its own flavor and just making it feel special in its own right. When that was obviously Will Smith being really great as the genie. He was a good genie in his own right, bringing his own sort of flair and flavor to things. And it just added great touches here and there, like Aladdin doing that breakdancing dance when he's trying to impress Jasmine at the party, or giving Genie his own story when it came to giving him sort of a girlfriend and stuff like that. Just added level of stuff like that was just like, wow, really, it was really fun. And then the scenes that did copy the original, like doing A Whole New World and You Got a Friend Like Me, those scenes were just great. And it was just like, wow, this is a really fun remake that made me think of the original while still giving me fun stuff in its own right. It's just really, I enjoy watching it every time I see it. It ended up being a great remake of the original Aladdin. That's despite doing some things that weren't so great, like how they did Jafar in this one, and Iago's personality is obviously disappointing compared to the original, but the good far outseeds the bad in this one. And at number 1 is The Jungle Book from 2016. Yeah, so far they haven't been able to top this one. This one is just brilliant when it came to the CGI work, obviously, on the scenery and bringing these animals to life. Also, the voice work on all the animals, great stuff also. And what's great is that there's an actual live action element to this one with Mowgli, so he's able to sort of carry the story, give it its heart, combined with the animals. Just great stuff all around. And what's great about this one is that it actually did improve on the original Jungle Book, which I'm honestly, besides the songs, I don't think that movie's very good. This movie's sort of good in all aspects and improving on the original. When it came to Mowgli, the way Shere Khan is as an antagonist, he was fantastic, along with great voice work from Idris Elba. Yeah, this was just a great remake overall, and so far it's the best remake Disney has done in this Disney cinematic universe. So there you go with my rankings for the films in this Disney cinematic universe, from least favorite to my favorite. Overall, while it's been a mixed bag when it comes to how these remakes have turned out, there's been some great ones, been some not so great ones. It's still fun to see these Disney classics in live action. You can't help but be curious to see how this is going to turn out. But for me, though, I do prefer it when they sort of go with more sort of an original direction to sort of add on to the original film and not just do sort of a shot-for-shot remake approach. That's kind of lazy to me. But still, you can't help but be curious curious whenever the remakes of these classics come out. And when it comes to the future of these remakes, you got the Little Mermaid one coming out in a year or two. That looks interesting based on the casting. You got the Lilo and Stitch one for Disney Plus. That should be like, really, how's that going to look? And then the one I'm looking forward to is the Hercules one done by the Russo brothers, the guys behind Infinity War and Endgame. That should be spectacular whenever it comes out. But as for the remakes we've gotten so far, some great and some not so great, but still fun to always see this stuff in live action. So that'll do it for this video. Go ahead and leave a list of your rankings of these remakes if you have them, if you've seen them all, or if you've seen Mulan. What did you think about it? That'll do it for this video. And as always, thank you for watching.